beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're doing a palette bingo using these new Oden's Eye ALVA Seasons palettes. I do have a full swatch and review video featuring these palettes, and there are also a bunch of lip products in this collection too. But today's all about the eyeshadow. I'm going to use a random number generator to choose one shade from each one of these 4 palettes. And then I have to create an eye look using whichever eyeshadows are randomly chosen for me. Hopefully the palette bingo gods are on our side today. First, I'm just going to prime my lids with this Sigma Ignite Eye Primer. I've been using this quite a lot over the past couple of months, and I really like this eye primer. It just does a good job of covering up all of my veins and stuff like that on my lids and gives me a nice little base to work on top of. I already have mascara on because I just filmed a makeup look using all of the drugstore products that I purchased when I was on vacation. So I didn't buy any eyeshadow, but I did buy mascara, so I'm already wearing mascara. We'll just see how this goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm not too worried about it. Each one of these palettes has 16 eyeshadows, so I'm going to set my random number generator to select a number between 1 and 16, and I'm going to count across the rows, so this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the point. Let's start with the spring palette, since it's on top of my pile here. And I got my random number generator ready. We got shade number 16. That is this one called Fairy Garden. This is a soft, silvery lavender metallic shade. Very pretty. I'm going to collect my swatches on the back of my hand here so we can get a look at the color story before I start applying my eyeshadow. And also bonus, it helps me remember which shades I got from each palette. Let's pick a shade from the summer palette next. This is a very blue-tastic palette. I got number 13, so that is 4, 8, 12, 13. This dark matte brown shade. Somehow managed not to get a blue from this palette, but okay. Although I think a blue would have looked good with the lavender. We're off to a pretty decent start here. That was a terrible swatch, sorry. I think we're off to a decent start so far. At least I know I have one matte and one shimmer, so let's do the autumn palette next. I really like this one. Definitely one of my favorites from the collection. All right, I got number 4 from the autumn palette, so that is this light, very, very light matte green. Hey, you know what? So far, I have purple and green. Can't be mad at that because those are my 2 favorite eyeshadow colors. If we get a silver, we'll be all set. Okay, that is very soft. Very, very light. But it's there. Moment of truth. What color are we going to get from the winter palette? I got shade 10. So let's see, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, another matte. Lots of mattes this time around. Okay, that's the color story. Not what I would have chosen personally, but definitely workable, I think. Since my lids are already primed and ready to go, I'm going straight in with this shade called Equinox. This is that super pale pastel, like celery type of green, and I'm using a big fluffy brush to apply this because I want this to just be sort of all blown out around the rest of the eye look. I think this is the best way to utilize this color because I really try to let each of the shadows in my palette bingo videos shine and have their moment. I try not to layer them up and hide them too much. I really want to try to prominently feature each shade as much as I possibly can, although sometimes that goes better than others. But I think because this was the shadow that I was the most worried about using, I guess, because I'm not a big pastel girly. It's just not something that I usually feature prominently in my looks. I really wanted to lean into this color Equinox Because a big part of why I like doing palette bingo videos is because it's really a challenge. It's really a way for me to look at my makeup in a new way and to experiment in a way that I may not usually be drawn towards. So I did not want to shrink away from that Equinox shade. And now for the winter palette, I'm using this bright periwinkle called Wood Stove. I'm applying this shade with a smaller flat brush and I'm packing that on across the lash line and then building it up more towards the outer part of my eye so it creates this sort of triangular shape on the eyelid. I really love to apply my shadow in this way. I think it's very flattering to my particular eye shape. And it's a great way to add color without being such a heavy blocked on eyelid, which I don't think works well for my particular eye shape. So I'm doing this little triangular method. It's almost the same lift as a wing or a cat eye might give you, but it's a lot easier to achieve, especially for somebody like me. I'm not very talented with eyeliner, but I like creating that same sort of diagonal lifted shape to my lids. I'm also not being too particular about getting the color perfectly opaque here. I do love a bit of a smudgy look, and I'm going to go over with some shimmer. It's going to overlap on this wood stove shade, so I'm not being too perfectionist about that. Before I add the shimmer, though, I want to go back and really drive the point home with this Equinox shade. So I'm just going all around the edges. I was afraid that this would look a little bruisey with that green, yellowy green shade and the very blue toned purple, but the shimmer really pulls it together for me. I don't know. Maybe it is a little bit bruisey looking, but this is the color palette that the generator chose for me. So I definitely am just working with what I got. I'm using the shade Ice Cream. I know I said I try not to layer and hide the colors too much. I do think you can still differentiate this brown shade, but I'm just reinforcing that cat eye type of shape with this little pencil brush. The darker shade acts almost like an eyeliner, but again, you don't need the precision application, which I personally appreciate because I do not thrive with precision application. Now I'm going back and just firming up that wood stove shade a little bit because when I was blending and layering, I did kind of wipe away some of the color. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, I'm going to go layer some shimmers on top, but I want to make sure that all of the colors are visible. And I really like the contrast of this purpley wood stove shade with the purpley fairy garden shade that we're going to use from the spring palette. So I want to make sure we get an overreaching purpley lid look. Lastly, I'm taking fairy garden and just using my fingertip, I'm going to apply that over the blank spaces on my lids and then sort of blend across and all the way up to my brow bone. So I get this almost like diagonal shape reinforced. And it reminds me of a little trail of fairy dust. I don't know. Maybe it's the ALVA artwork and the shade names and everything that put that in my head. But I was feeling very like grungy Tinkerbell with this look. And it's the aesthetic I didn't know that I needed. I will always be happy if I look at myself after applying my makeup and think, you look like a grunge Tinkerbell. So let that be your true inspiration. Even if you're not ready for a palette bingo today, maybe just try to make yourself look like a grungy Tinkerbell. It worked out well for me. I think that you can really see all the different colors showing up in this look. It was super fun and easy to create. I don't know if I will recreate this exact look because that pale pastel green is still a little bit tough for me. But overall, I was happy to wear this all day. And as usual, I had a great time just experimenting, getting out of my comfort zone. Let me know what type of palette bingo you want to see next. I have a couple of ideas in mind, but I would love to hear if you have any fun palette bingo ideas as well. I was going for a little bit of a messy, grungy fairy dust type of look, and I think that I've ended up somewhere very much in that vicinity. I think the shimmery shade from the spring palette definitely pulls it all together. I don't think this look would be as successful without that particular shade. I do wish that this super pale green was showing up just a little bit more, but I almost like the contrast of how bold the other matte shades are in comparison. And, like I said at the beginning, these aren't the shades I would have chosen to pair together, but I'm actually very happy with how this look turned out. So at the end of the day, I feel like that's a win. I would love to hear what you think about this look. Which one of these palettes is your favorite? Make sure you go check out my original swatch and review video as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Uh, uh-oh. Hello? What could go wrong? Okay. Where the heck is my favorite pencil brush? Okay. I do not know what I'm doing. I'm not sure if this is going to be brilliant or completely insane looking. Stay tuned to find out. Wish me luck. Cute. I really like this UK drugstore makeup as well. Overall, pretty successful makeup video day, in my opinion. They're not all winners, I can tell you that. I've had a lot of good luck recently, though, I think. It's lunchtime, and I have some leftovers calling my name from the refrigerator. Can hear them. I made some homemade salsa last night for dinner, and I think I made it too spicy because nobody else really ate much of it except for me. So all I'm hearing is more spicy salsa for myself. Don't worry, there's plenty of other food. Everybody's fine. It's just, I may have been a little heavy handed on the jalapenos, you know what I mean? But it is what it is, and I love spicy salsa, so that feels like a win. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I love your face, and I love your face more than I love spicy salsa, and that's really saying something. See you in the next one. Bye.